Everyone, welcome to an updated version of that Tell My Life video that I did a few years ago. So there's a few reasons I'm doing an updated version of that video. One is that was 2.5 years ago now, so more has happened in my life since then. Another reason is that I feel like there were a lot of things in that video that I could have mentioned that I forgot to mention, and also I'm a few years older now, so I feel like I can kind of present my thoughts and my whole life in a slightly better, more professional way, I guess. I don't know. I just felt like it was time to do a rendition of that video. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to be basically going through every year of my life, telling you guys about what happened to me in those years of my life. I'm going to be talking less about my interest in music. I'll be talking a little bit about music, but that won't be the main focus of the video. I might do another video where I do a rendition. I think I did a video in the past talking about my interest in music. I can't remember. I'll talk a little bit about how I got into EDM, but all about like how I got into making it, I think I'll save that for another video, because in this video I want to focus on things about my life that don't really have to do with my YouTube channel and my music. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Also, yeah, I just want to mention it's going to be just a black screen for this whole video because, as you guys know, I don't really show my face on YouTube or anywhere on the internet. So, and there's nothing really for me to show in the video, so it's just going to be a black screen because all you need to hear is my voice, so there's no point in really showing anything on the screen. So, yeah. Now let's actually get started. Okay, well, I guess if we're going through every year of my life, it makes sense to start with the first year that I was alive in. So I was born on June 25th, 2004. Yeah, so I obviously don't remember anything from 2004. I was born in 2004. I don't remember anything from 2005, because I was still a baby. And 2006... I might have a few vague little memories from 2006, but I can't put a date on them, and they're like really foggy and dreamy and not clear enough to explain. So my earliest memory that I know, like I can put a date on it, I know exactly when it happened, is from April of 2007. I was 2.5 years old, and I went to Disney World in Orlando with my parents, my grandparents, and my older cousins. So, yeah, that's my earliest memory that I really know when it happened. Still, my memory of it has faded a lot, but I still remember bits of it, which is kind of amazing considering I was only 2.5 years old, but yeah. I also just remembered to mention that I'm also an only child, so I don't have any siblings, and there's a couple reasons for that, I think. One reason is that I am something called a highly sensitive person, or it's abbreviated to HSP. It's an actual thing that you can look up if you want. My mom and I both are highly sensitive people, and I can basically explain what that means shortly, or I can explain what that means. Basically, it means that we can really, I'll just say me, my mom is also one, but I can really sense people's emotions, like, I guess I just get more emotional, and if someone else is having a certain emotion, I'm more likely to pick up on that emotion. So I'm good at empathizing with people, but I'm also more sensitive to, like, noises, like loud noises, things like, yeah, like, I guess, I mean, some highly sensitive people are really sensitive to flashing lights. I don't really mind flashing lights. It's just loud noises that bother me. And then also situations where there's a lot of, like, tension, like where people are yelling at each other, that can really stress me out. So, yeah. So because I'm highly sensitive children, I've heard, can be harder to take care of, because they're just more work to take care of, because they get more emotional about things. If someone's yelling, or like, actually I remember when I was really young, when I was like 3, clapping really bothered me. So like if we were in a room and like people were clapping for a performance, I would start crying. And I also couldn't handle clapping, like, after a happy birthday song. Usually, at least in the US, where I'm from, people, after blowing out the candles at a birthday party, everyone claps. And at my third birthday party, everyone clapped after I blew out the candles, and I started crying because I guess the clapping was too much. It was kind of a sensory overload for me, which wouldn't happen to most kids, but it did to me since I was highly sensitive. Obviously, I'm fine with clapping now, but that was just something interesting about me when I was younger. And so it's just harder to take care of a highly sensitive child. So that was one reason that my parents, I think, that didn't have another child. And then there's another really important reason for that I'll get into now. So in 2009, my mom started having some pain, and I think I mentioned this whole story in my last Tell My Life video, but I'll just talk about it again here. My mom, in 2009, so I was only 5 years old, my mom started having strange, like, pain in random spots of her. I think it started with jaw pain, and we originally thought it was only going to last we didn't know how long it was going to last, but we thought it would at least be quick. It definitely was not quick, I'll tell you that. So, throughout 2009 and 2010, my mom's pain in random spots, like, I think she maybe had, like, back pain and jaw pain and stuff like that in the beginning. It started progressing and getting worse, and eventually she couldn't take care of me. I haven't mentioned this yet, but my mom did something called attachment parenting with me when I was really young, which basically meant that she was really focused on having a connection with me when I was younger, which I'm thankful for, of course. I was also homeschooled, so we would go pretty much every day of the week while my dad was at work. My mom would take me somewhere when I was like 3, 4, 5. We would go just random places. We'd go to nature preserves, children's museums, all kinds of stuff around the Chicago area, which I haven't mentioned yet. But yeah, I was born in the suburbs of Chicago and still live in the same house I've always lived in right now. So yeah. So in 2011, my mom's strange pain symptoms actually became too much for her to parent me on her own. So thankfully my mom's parents lived only about 3 minutes away from us at that time. So we moved in with my mom's parents so that my grandma could take care of me, could kind of take over taking care of me, because it was too much for my mom with her strange collection of symptoms. And so then my grandma started pretty much doing everything that my mom used to do with me. So my grandma would drive me to my homeschool co-ops and stuff like that, drive me to be with friends and stuff like that. So that was when I was 7 years old. It was on July 3rd, 2011 was the day that we moved to my grandma's house, and temporarily. I mean, we actually ended up living there for 1.5 years, but that was when it started. And the day before that, on July 2nd, 2011, I had my worst injury. I mentioned it in my last Tell My Life video. I can mention it again here. Right after I turned 7, I was hanging out with my cousins who are 5 years older than me, and they were we decided it was a good idea for my dad to ride in a wagon for some reason. So one of them pulled my dad in the wagon at the front, and I was with my other cousin in the back. And since they were almost 12 at that point, and I was only 7, so they could run faster than I could. And because they were running faster than I couldn't keep up, but I still held onto the wagon, so my knees drug along the sidewalk for like 30 feet or something. So it messed up my knees pretty bad, and it took about like a month to heal. On September 3rd, 2011, I'm really good at remembering dates for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, I just know a ton of these dates off the top of my head. On September 3rd, 2011, my family, we decided to get a cat. So that was while we were living at my grandma's house. So we drove up to Wisconsin. If you don't know the geography, Chicago is pretty close to Wisconsin. It's just like an hour drive or an hour and a half drive south of the Wisconsin border. So we drove up into Wisconsin to get a cat from a breeder. We got a Devon Rex cat, which is a certain breed of cat. You can look it up if you want, but we got a Devon Rex. We got a white Devon Rex. My mom named him Caspian because she likes the Chronicles of Narnia. So, yeah, we got a white Devon Rex kitten. But the sad part is, with my mom's illness that she had that we still didn't know what it was, and we still don't know what it was, she became allergic to things. She started having allergic reaction to things that she had never had an allergic reaction to before, which included cats. So she ended up having an allergic reaction to our new kitten, Caspian. He's an all-white kitten. We still have him. Anyway, she started having allergic reactions to him. And so, luckily, it was really sad, but my mom's friend had a few Devon Rexes, so she had experience with taking care of Devon Rex cats. And so my mom's friend volunteered to take Caspian to her house until my mom got better from this weird illness that had already been affecting her for 2 years at that point. So on September 6th of 2011, only 3 days after we got Caspian, we gave him to my mom's friend, and for my mom's friend to take care of indefinitely, which was pretty sad for me because I had been looking forward to getting a kitten for months, and 3 days after getting him, we had to get rid of him, and it was unknown when we'd get him back. So that was really sad for me, obviously. In 2012, we continued living at my grandma's house, and my mom's symptoms started getting worse. They still weren't terrible yet, but they were definitely not going in the direction we wanted them to. So, yeah. In November of 2012, we moved back to our house finally. So, a year and 4 months we moved back to our own house after having lived at my grandma's house for a year and 4 months. So, yeah, I don't know actually why we moved back, because my mom wasn't getting better. She was actually getting worse. But for some reason, we moved back home, and I think I was happy about that. I still got to come back to my own house on the weekends, but we would still sleep at my grandma's house every night until November 2012 when we moved back home. So at that point, I was 8 years old, and that led into 2013 when the situation with my mom unfortunately got worse. So in the summer of 2013, my mom started feeling better, actually. Her symptoms started subsiding, and that was the summer that I turned 9. That was a pretty good summer. I mean, it's nostalgic for me because, I'm pretty sure every 15, 16-year-old has nostalgia for being 9, 10, 11 years old, but that's definitely true for me because my grandma would take me to be with my friends a lot. Maybe I should mention that some. My grandma would take me to be with hang out with my homeschool friends sometimes at their houses. Sometimes she would take us places like nature preserves, and that was fun. In the fall of 2013, when my mom started getting worse again in the fall of 2013, and that was really when she kind of came crashing down into the worst part of her illness. In the fall of 2013, so when I was going into 4th grade, my grandma and dad, I think, decided that I should start going to this homeschool co-op that met once a week on Mondays, because one of my homeschool friends that I had known since I was about 4 years old was going to that homeschool co-op. And so we decided to start having me go there. And the way it worked was we would go there once a week on Mondays and have classes like a regular school, but then we would do our homework throughout the week. So that worked out pretty well for a few years while my mom was unable to do anything. In 2014, that was definitely my mom's worst year of her entire illness. throughout 2014, it really got unimaginably bad, like torture, basically. So, torture for my mom and for my dad, definitely. For me, I knew about it, but also I would go to my grandma's house all day. I would go to my grandma's house in the morning, and then my grandma would take me to my homeschool friend's house, and we would hang out there. So it was I would get to see my mom for like a minute a day right before I went to bed. But basically, let me explain how it was. So in 2014, my mom's symptoms, some really strange symptoms that were pretty terrible, started showing up. So basically, the first one I think that showed up, well, actually in 2013, some nerve thing in her eyes got messed up, and she couldn't open her eyes. Like, even if she tried to, she literally couldn't open her eyes, starting in 2013 and all throughout 2014. So for like a year and a half, my mom couldn't open her eyes, literally. And she actually also started reacting to light. So even though she couldn't open her eyes, she could still see light through her eyelids, and if she did happen to see light through her eyelids, it would cause her immense headaches that would last for like days. So we had to, so basically the arrangement we had was my mom would sit in a chair in my bedroom. I slept with my dad in my parents' bedroom. So our house has 2 bedrooms, my parents' bedroom and my bedroom. So during that time that my mom had her illness, I slept with my dad in my parents' bedroom, and my mom slept in my bedroom, which we converted into basically a medical room for her during that time. And she would sit in a chair 24/7. We had to have it be pitch black in there. Had to constantly have the blackout shades drawn because any light in there, even just light coming through the crack under the door, would cause my mom to have severe headaches. So we had to like put a black fabric at the bottom of the door so that no light got in. And then actually towards the end of 2014, my mom started reacting the same way to sound. So if someone were to talk like at a normal voice level, like I'm talking right now around her, that would also cause her headaches that would last like days after that. So basically, she also couldn't move much. Like, she could move her arms a little bit, but if someone like touched her, if there was any light around her, if there was any sound around her, it would cause her brutal headaches that would last for days. So yeah, I mean, you can probably imagine how that was really hard for our family. And I know it was really hard on my dad and, of course, my mom. So, yeah. So the only time I got to see my mom, the way I still stayed connected with her, like on the inside, even though she couldn't make facial expressions or talk or move or anything, I would weigh myself every night. Like on the scale, I would see how much I weighed, because I enjoyed seeing how I would get heavier over time as I was growing. And I would have my mom guess how much I weighed every night. And she would show her guess like on her fingers, basically. So back then, now I think I weigh like 115 pounds, but back then I weighed probably only like 60 pounds or something. So, because I was only like 10 years old. So my mom would somehow show on her fingers that she would guess that I was like, 62.5 or something like that. And I would see if she was right. And that was right before I'd go to bed. We had that routine. So that was how I stayed connected with my mom, even though she couldn't talk or move or open her eyes or be touched or anything. So, yeah. 2014 was also the year that I discovered EDM, and it was also the year that I made the name Indigo 132. Fun fact, I was only like 9 years old, I think, when I made the name Indigo 132, and I've never changed it because I don't I don't know, just picturing myself with a different alias just feels weird. It's like I wouldn't be able to adapt to it. I don't know. I just don't have a reason to change, so why change? Because I don't want to. So, yeah, so the way it happened, or the way I'll talk about how I discovered EDM first. I watched Minecraft YouTuber Captain Sparkles, and he used the song "Top of the World" by Stephen Hawking in the outro of his videos. And I didn't know how links worked, so I was watching one of his videos once on a morning in 2014. I think it was it was either in the morning or it was before my grandma picked me up, or it was in the evening after she dropped me off home. It might have actually been in the evening, but it doesn't really matter. I was watching a Captain Sparkles video, and I accidentally clicked on the link in the description of the video that led to the song "Top of the World" by Stephen Hawking. And I was like, I thought it was super cool to be hearing the full song, because I'd only ever heard that 15-second clip in the outro of his videos. So I thought it was really cool to hear the full thing. From there, I don't know how I discovered other Stephen Hawking songs. I think probably YouTube just recommended them to me. But yeah, so I think that was in the summer of 2014 sometime. And yeah, I had never really listened to EDM before that. So I got into Stephen Hawking. I didn't really branch out to other artists until 2015. When I was 10 years old, I mostly just listened to Stephen Hawking. I was into his heavy stuff. Yeah. And in 2014, I mentioned I also made the name Indigo 132. The way I made that name, it was originally meant to be a name for Minecraft, so I actually played Minecraft on the console version, and I couldn't give my player a name, but I thought, if I ever get my own account on the PC version, which I never did, but I thought if I do someday, I need to have a name. I need to have a Minecraft name for that. So, my favorite color was indigo. I think I just looked at the rainbow and thought, yeah, I like colors that are kind of bluish and purplish. So my favorite color is indigo. So I was like, okay, I'll put my favorite color in the name. So I did. And then I wanted a number because a lot of Minecraft usernames, or just usernames in general, had numbers in them. And I was kind of into math at that point in my life, so I liked numbers that were divisible by 3 for some reason. I don't know why, but I liked numbers that were divisible by 3. And 100, I think I got in the shower. I was thinking about this while I was in the shower. I was showering one night, and the first number that popped into my head was 132. That's a random number. And I thought, is it divisible by 3? Yep, it is. And then I thought, it's also divisible by 11, and it's divisible by 6, and I don't even know what else it's divisible by, but it's divisible by a lot of things. 4, I think. So I was like, it's a great number. It's divisible by so many things. I'll be Indigo 132. So that was where that Minecraft name came from, and I started using it for music when I was still 10 when I started using it for music. I would make really, really bad songs in GarageBand. I thought they were good, but they weren't. And it started with me doing remixes of Monster Cat songs, I think, in GarageBand, long before I had a YouTube channel. And they're really bad, so I don't think you guys want to hear them. But they were basically just the original Monster Cat song with, distortion and me humming over them. And they lasted for, I don't know, they were really short, I think. But, yeah, they were pretty bad. But I was still excited about it, and, yeah. I guess kind of part of my personality is I don't tend to, when I'm proud of something, I'm proud of it. I don't tend to, think negatively of it, I guess. I don't know, that's just something I've observed about myself. When I'm looking back at my old creations, I can totally say, oh yeah, that's terrible. What was I thinking? That doesn't sound good at all. That's what I say to my old music right now. But something about, when I make something, I view the good things about it. And when it's, a new creation that I'm proud of, I don't know. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or maybe it's both, but that's just something about me that I've noticed. Anyway, going back to how my mom's illness was, in 2015, in the beginning of the year, she was really bad. In February of 2015, that was the darkest year or darkest month, sorry, I'm getting my words jumbled around. February of 2015 was definitely the darkest month of my mom and dad's life, I think. I didn't really know all what was happening. I just knew my mom was really sick. But I found out later from my dad that 2012, sorry, I'm getting all my words mixed up. February of 2015 was the month where my mom, one of the medications she was taking made it so she couldn't eat anything. So we actually thought she was going to starve, and she kind of wanted to, I think. Like, she just kind of had lost confidence at that point. And I haven't mentioned it in this video yet, but my family were Christians. So, yeah, that's just that's our faith. Yeah. So I don't know if you are watching this are religious or not, but it's fine. I don't really care that much. That's what we believe. That's our faith. And we were essentially praying for a very long time, through my mom's entire illness. My whole family, everyone we knew was praying for my mom. And essentially what happened was in April of 2015, my parents decided to go to Rush Hospital in Chicago, we live about 25 miles outside Chicago, so that wasn't too far. They decided to go to Rush, which I haven't mentioned yet in this video, but in 2014, my mom tried getting treatment from something called ketamine. She would get ketamine infusions, and those they would help her feel she could talk for like one day after getting ketamine, but then her symptoms would all come back and it would be back to where we started. So it was pretty clear that ketamine wasn't really working. The reason she originally went to the hospital was to get like one huge, really long ketamine infusion that would last for like a week, and it worked a tiny bit, or it worked a very tiny bit. She was still totally non-functional, but I could actually kind of have conversations with her. So there was that at least, but basically what happened was while my mom was still at the hospital, they ended up staying for much longer than a week, and one of the doctors there, I think, pointed my parents to a treatment called ECT, which is normally used on people with depression, which we actually concluded that my mom's illness was some type of depression, not the type of depression that you normally think of. Like, normally when people think of depression, they think something like where you just feel really sad all the time. It wasn't that kind of depression. It was more like an unconscious depression, like not where my mom felt sad, but where her brain wasn't working properly. And what we eventually realized was that the problem was actually just that my mom's brain was basically tricked into constantly thinking she was in pain. So ECT treatments, on April 20th, 2015, my mom got her first ECT treatment. And after a few of them, she actually, we could open the windows again. She could walk around. She could have sound around. She could talk to us again. And, of course, not being able to really eat in all that time, just not being able to eat much. She had lost a lot of weight, but we didn't really, what our focus was on was the fact that she was basically functional again, and that was really miraculous. We believe that God answered our prayers. I don't know whether or not you're watching this, if you're religious or not. It's okay. You can believe whatever you want, but that's what we really believe. And that was 2015. For that reason, 2015 was the best year of my life. In May of 2015, my mom moved back home, and since then she's still been getting ECT treatments every week to keep her stable, but she's a normal functioning person now, just like she was when I was a baby. So yeah, that's been, for the last 5 years, my mom has been basically she's been a normal person again. Yeah, so I guess, actually, in October of 2015, on October 27th, to be specific, we got our cat Caspian back because my mom's illness was gone, so she could handle being around cats again. So that was great. I hadn't seen him in those whole 4 years that we didn't have him, but he was all grown up when I saw him, and the last time I had seen him, he was a kitten, but yeah, we got him back, and that was so exciting. This video is probably getting really long, so I should probably wrap it up soon. There's not much left to talk about. I mean, most of my music journey happened after 2015. But I think I'll save that for another video. One, my voice is getting really tired. I'm like about to cough, but and two, this video is extremely long, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. I mean, if you did watch through the whole video, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about the side of my life that you guys don't really get to see through my music and what I make available on the internet normally. So yeah, I think I'll make another one of these videos at some point talking about more my music journey and how I got into making music and stuff like that. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I can't think of anything else that I forgot to mention, so yeah, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.